Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidiri, and we're going to be turning our attention to a story that cuts deep into South Africa's ongoing struggle for justice and recognition. A Cape Town court has ruled in favor of the city, granting it powers to stop members of the Khoi and San community from occupying land in Mitchell's Plain. While the city argues that it's essentially protecting land that's earmarked for housing development, many say this ruling once again sidelines South Africa's first people whose ancestral ties to the land long predates colonial and apartheid borders. For the Khoi and San, I think we can all agree this is not just a legal issue. It's about dignity, it's about heritage and a sense of belonging in a country that almost feels like it has forgotten all about them. To help us unpack this decision and what it means and where the fight for recognition goes from here, I'm joined by Christian Martin, activist for the recognition of the Khoi and San people in South Africa. Christian, thank you so much for being with us. Good morning.
Good morning and good morning to the listeners.
No, pleasure's all ours. Really appreciate you giving us the time. And I think let's just jump right into it. Let's start with your reaction to this ruling and how the Khoi and San communities are feeling right now.
First, allow me to say thank you for the opportunity from the radio station and always being interested in the Khoi and San and obviously local matters from the community on the ground. For me, I want to actually congratulate the leadership of the Khoi and San in the Western Cape for this bold step that they have made by taking this the land story so serious. We should remember by doing that, the Khoi and San is actually now taking their rightful place in society and in the structures of government itself. It is truly a David and Goliath situation that have been taking place in the Western Cape. This should not be seen as a loss and a win by the city of Cape Town. It should rather awaken the Khoi and San people and make the Western Cape government aware that the people are not going to allow anymore just to leave the things in the hands of government, whichever is in control.
Mm, 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 mm. And after the court case in itself, with the city having justified the decision as necessary for, I think they called it orderly urban planning. What's your response to that? And what do you think is being overlooked in this argument?
For me, it is also, again, if I may repeat, it's not a victory. It's not an eviction notice that has been given. It's just a notice not to allow people to invade land. There is a difference. We mustn't confuse the two, that it's an eviction order that has been given against those people. Strange for me as a Khoi and San to say we are invading our own land. You can't invade your own land, actually. It's just to take back what is literally being stolen from us. But be it as it may, I would say is that the excuse that has been used in court, one, that people want to jump the queue for housing, and two, for development purposes and so forth. It can never be that Khoi and San now, I would say for the third, if not the fourth time, must make through these things. One, let's talk about colonialization, dispossession of Khoi ancestral land, apartheid. It went through, and now even in our new dispensation after apartheid, in our own democracy, we must go through the same. That is the heartbreaking part of the Khoi and San, but we should never forget when it comes to the Western Cape, also, it's a different animal playing itself out in the Western Cape, is where people in the Western Cape expect the one that have created the problem of colonialization are now, and apartheid for that matter, are now going to be their liberators. It will never be. Never, ever it will be. And our people's eyes should actually open in the Western Cape. You can't be thrice-fooled when it comes to the same people, same agenda, in just a different way in using our own democratic laws against us. People's eyes should go open in the Western Cape. I'm talking about Khoi and San people and descendants in particularly.
I think, for context sake, historically, what is the context of the Khoi and Sons land claim in urban areas like Mitchell's Plain and more broadly across South Africa? I think we could even stretch it.
You see, let us not forget what was the original agenda of the colonialists and therefore also the fathers of apartheid. Is that what they have done is they have now come up with laws after 1948. Let's look at the Population Registration Act, where people that were originally being called the indigenous people, First Nation people during the first Population Registration Act, we were called Nama, we were called Korana, we were called all these names. But come 1950 with the Population Registration Act, because of land dispossession, they gave us a new terminology calling us coloureds. Now you must look deeper into the terminology as the Population Registration Act. What is a coloured? The Population Registration Act says a coloured is not a white person, meaning from Europe, nor a native, meaning from Africa. It means the colored person is actually nothing because of the tactic of taking away land. But if we had been left as Khoi and San, Nama, Griqua, those terminology of our ancestors and nations, we would have had better claim to the land. Therefore, for myself, what we should fight for is the First Nation status, and this matter must go to the constitutional court of this country. Otherwise, every time old laws, new laws will speak against us. Because being a colored, you have no say when it comes to land, because you don't have an ancestral powers when it comes to land being a colored, because a colored is nothing. The terminology as a Population Registration Act, a colored means nothing. That's the definition of a colored, nothing.
How do you respond to those that say we need to start moving away from identity politics? Everyone needs to identify, classify themselves as a South African above and beyond everything else. And that's when maybe, just maybe, this country will start moving forward in a direction that we all wanted to.
It will never move forward when you move away suddenly after 30 years of democracy. When you look at our Employment Equity Act, if you look at empowerment policies in this country, it was to rectify things. This weekend, I attended the Thabo Mbeki National Dialogue, and I raised it very, what's his name there, when people spoke that we are at a crossroads. And this is, I'm trying to answer the question. They say that we are in the crossroads of South Africa. Now, being at a crossroads means you have started on a road. The Khoi and San never even partake on this road of equity in this country, equality in this country. First and foremost, the Khoi and San must be defined as African. The terminology African that only includes the Nguni people at present must be redefined, that Khoi and San forms part of African. African doesn't mean the color of your skin. African means your location where you actually abode from. And we are from, just look at your Z83, they're talking about African. A colored a Khoisan person in this country is not recognized, because if you go for the national empowerment funds to empower yourself, they ask if you are an African. The Khoi can't say he's an African, because the definition of South Africa as an African is only Ngunis. The definition of black in South Africa is the Ngunis, it is the Indians, it is the colored, and worst of all, it is the Chinese people. They are being declared as African. So until that time, we are to be declared as African in this country. Then only we will form part. But now, we are both ways nothing.
Just finally, before I let you go, Christian, what are the next steps now for the Khoi and San activists and community leaders following this court ruling?
You see, the next step for us as the Khoi and San is really we must take our matter to the Constitutional Court. Until that happens, that from the Constitutional Court we can win this. So until we win this thing in the Constitutional Court first, it's the First Nation of South Africa. As part of being African, we can go nowhere soon.
There we go. Christian Martin, activist for the recognition of the Khoi and San people in South Africa. Thank you so much for giving us your time, and always a pleasure having you on our show.
Thank you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
There you go. Going to take a quick break. News and Views continues after this.